Hey everyone, welcome back to this SUPboarder video, which is part 2 of the Red Paddle Co chat, where I go to speak to George Shillito and Phil Hawthorn about Red Paddle Co. And in this video, I'm really going to be diving more into why and what makes Red Paddle Co so different from another brand. I'm going to be starting off by talking about innovation and their thoughts on that, the environmental impact of innovation as well. We're going to be chatting about cheaper price point boards and price in general, and also look out for a bonus section at the end where George is going to be showing us some of the innovation that has never come to light. So some behind the scenes stuff there as well. These videos are incredibly interesting, so grab yourself a drink and listen to what Red have to say. Okay, so now I want to move on to innovation. And almost, some people think that Red Paddle Co are not actually that innovative with certain ideas. But I know you have got a lot of ideas that they're on the cutting room floor, let's say. They haven't even come out. Let us know about innovation and where you are with that. And
innovation is not just new products. Innovation, everyone can innovate. Everyone does innovate. Everyone problem solves, and the actual output of a new product is not always technological. Innovation can be in operations, in the warehouse, in sales, in marketing. It's not just for product. But with regards to product specifically, I don't know, 8 out of 10 ideas fail.
Really, yeah.
Or yeah, I mean, that's what happens. If you're not failing, you're not innovating enough.
But now what you're just saying, and I know we chatted earlier about the B Corp, you've obviously been working a huge amount on that. So that's all innovation. It's not just because it's not the paddle and the boards.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so
there's also an element of, I think, there's innovation in terms of just design improvement, and then there's also genuine innovation that changes how the industry looks at it. And like Phil was saying, from a material aspect, the innovation in the materials to get to the compact was massive. So that's material innovation. But then the compact application, I mean, how many times have we now seen the compact imitated across the world? Yeah. Same thing is true for our bags and for our pumps, for even just things like the bungees, they've been imitated. And so when you evoke and provoke change through an entire industry because of that concept is worth copying, worth taking on. And that's what we always think, our compacts are patented internationally. But that because reason why we patent things is because we want people to be able to improve on our ideas, challenge those, think around it, try and work out actually how you improve it. And that's what we do all the time in our design thinking. So from an innovation point of view, a lot of the stuff that we've implemented has really driven an entire shift and change in terms of what we do. Compact being a very good recent, but V-hole, like you say, V-hole is in the board. Again, V-hole's now quite a well-known concept in terms of some of the touring boards. So we constantly are thinking in that space as well in terms of a lot of the design we can do. Sure, you could add more components. You could add any number of accessories to a board. Okay, that's user needs, cool. But at the same time, we want to be doing stuff which is genuine progression, like real step on, future-facing thinking. And we challenge ourselves with that. So it's not just a compact. We've got an entire rescue range with which we work with various international life-saving authorities on. The reason for that is subject to a whole different world of environmental testing. Those boards are life-saving devices and have to work as well here as they do in the Gambia and Bangladesh for the RNLI international outreach work that we work with them and partner with them on. They're used in Australia, they're used by nurses in Thailand, they're used all over the place. But that requires a completely different sort of look on the world of inflatable technology, because you need to be really looking and dialing down on the rail construction in terms of materials, longevity, UV testing, temperature testing. So again, that world potentially people aren't seeing either, but that's where a lot of our innovation then pulls down from. So we're not just using the paddle boards from the design concept, and where we can really inspire change. And then our focus, obviously we're actually really quite a small team. So in terms of being able to move things on, we can only put our focus into those certain areas. So like say, dry spells potentially occur from any brand when they just haven't got the bandwidth, I guess, to be able to go, right, let's focus on that. And the other thing is it takes, like I was saying, to keep warranty rates where they are, you've got to be 100% sure that you're not allowing anything to happen. I mean, you've probably seen them as we're walking through the office, there's boards outside. There's 3 boards out there, 3 boards with completely different primers, glues, adhesives, rail constructions on them. You wouldn't know to look at them, but they've been out there now for 2.5 years, just going through basic environmental testing, because we leave them out there all day, all night, just there, and they're getting battered by rain and storms of this winter. But they sit out there in heat waves, everything, and that's how long it takes, years. It's not, you've got these sort of things, thermal test cushions, which we can send off to specialist labs that can accelerate aging on product and accelerate certain aspects. But nothing really replaces the genuine in-environment testing. And we roll that out in Australia, we roll that out in China, we roll that out in the Caribbean, working with our distribution partners. We do testing all over the place to make sure that we're not just getting an isolated view on quality, we're getting a global view on it. So with every innovation automatically means it brings about change. So you're bringing about change. Now, we have to consider everything up to that point before we implement change. So all of our spares that have gone before that, so whether that be valves, component parts, clamps on paddles, components on pumps, all the bits that we interact with and you can use, we have to consider all of that before implementing that change, because in 10 years' time, people still want to be able to service these boards because we're making them to last. So we still need to have stock of that. So before we communicate with suppliers, we need to be able to develop and build enough of a buffer. The other massive element, which is not considered by many producers and suppliers, is what happens when they implement that change in terms of materials. So as we've been talking about from a drop stitch material, that comes off a big roll. If you've got a material that's spec'd, let's say in our case, white and blue, and you decide to change that for any reason to white and green, you have to consider what's going to happen to the white and blue, to the leftover material. Because if that's just sitting there on a shelf, it's going to it's going to the bin, it's going to waste, And it's the same, if you decide to change your fin from black to blue, or you change it from 8 inches to 7 inches, there's still a stockpile. MOQs come in tens of thousands. They don't come in ones and twos. Yeah. So when we're talking about minimum order quantities, you have to consider all of that change before you implement change. And that's one of the biggest things with innovation, which as an industry, and as a brand, we're always considering, because you can be as B Corp and as green as you like, but unless you're really putting a lot of effort and consideration into that, you may as well not have started and bothered with becoming that, because you'll create more damage by implementing that change than anything else, because of the waste that's left over, which you don't know about, and it might not be communicated with you. Like Phil has seen warehouses full of valves that have failed QC.
Higher than this building.
They can be recycled, but because it's more expensive to recycle than to throw them into landfill, they go that way. Phil's managed to stop that. That's just a valve supplier, not us necessarily. But it's an example. It's the same, with the hoses. There's a little bar that goes across to create the mold of the little nozzle. We flick that out because of the pressure of the Titan opens a valve, but we regrind that because that's a pure plastic, rather than just put that into as a microplastic, which just gets washed out into the ocean and stuff.
Reuse it.
So, but you have to think about that whole world before implementing change. And so that's why we keep an arsenal of spares, customer service wise, and that's why from a customer service point of view, we try to service everyone and keep product going forever, because that's the most important thing we can do.
It's true. It's very obvious when I start chatting to you that you can feel that there's the passion, but there's also everything has been thought and done for a reason. And I know there's so many, let's say, other inflatable board brands that might come up with a funky design, but the materials that have gone in for that design and they might have actually stemmed back from, so they haven't really done much work on the materials or the glues, and it's all come, so it's the complete package with you guys.
Yeah. Right? Well, yes, exactly. Other companies can come up, in any industry, can come up with other things. That's fine. Just keep focusing on how can we help inspire venture and make the best products that we can do.
Can I just touch on your funky design comment? It's really an interesting conversation, I think, in terms of design, because it's such a subjective thing, 100%. I get that people either can love our boards, can be totally against our boards in terms of colourway, and the same is true for every other inflatable brand out there, every brand, basically. It's just a subjective thing. But longevity of design, regardless of what you like and what your personal preferences are, is the most important thing, because as we're saying, we're making boards that last, so you need that timeless look on the board. You don't want to buy a board that in year 1 looks great, come year 2, it's faded, it's disappeared, and that's why there's not, in terms of complexity, there's not huge levels of complexity in terms of aesthetical complexity, because screen prints fade. They do disappear, especially if they're fine, thin designs, or block colours change colour. And it used to happen in the windsurfing industry all the time. Sails after a season of use would just suddenly change colour on you. You're like, what's going on here? Because the UV is such a brutal force that will break down the colour molecules, which is why we use a lot of stable colours. So in terms of blue is one of the most stable colours you can use in a UV environment from a fading speed. And so again, these sort of cushions that we create, we send those off to labs with deck pads samples on them to be able to test UV fade rates and things. So that whole design element, whilst it will always remain subject, no matter what you're into, there's reasons why we don't necessarily have those sort of level of like real technical screen prints and things, because they will fade, wear, disappear over time.
Okay, and flip side to it, a cheap brand, the cheapest of cheap, the supermarket, rock bottom, how different are they using? Just really bad glues, really bad materials? How long is that board going to last? Is it worth, some of them are £200, aren't they? They're cheap, aren't they? I know you've got more than just the board, you've got the corporation behind it, you've got the environment, there's so much more to it. But how many years do you think that sort of basic board would last?
I mean, if you looked after it, hopefully more than one season.
One season?
It depends how
like
much
a year.
Do you use it?
Expect you to say, but wow, okay. So it could be that bad though.
Yeah, I mean,
it could be first day.
Yeah.
What you're doing in that situation is you are basically throwing the dice, because it's a handmade product. You're just working on a combination of everything. Was the glue the end of the batch or the beginning of the batch? Was the material consistent? Was the person having a good day who made it? Was the person new into the production line when they were making that board? Did they have any guidance? Was there any QC?
Was it
checks?
stormy?
Yeah, was the humidity
cold?
high? Was the high temperature? There's so many variables that come into that end.
Was the container on the top of the ship?
Yeah.
I don't know, but you don't want to badmouth any. But
no, but
at the same time,
this for me as a paddler, you've opened me up. I'm like, well, I didn't think about
well, you don't know,
stuff.
do you?
I mean, obviously, you glue how well it's put on. If they put enough on, that's about all I've thought about. How hard they've pushed it together.
What province? Where was it made? What were the regulations? Because different provinces or counties in different countries use different regulations.
I mean, one thing I do know is that basically, whatever you're buying, you've got to imagine that in landfill because it isn't going to be recycled.
No. Yes. And that's on the other side of it, actually. That's the other important element. You can't recycle any paddleboards. You can repair them. Yes. And there is an infrastructure around the world from the marine industry of very specialist repair companies that are very good at using both PVC and Hypalon in terms of ribs. So they're very, very good. However, we work with many all over the world because of who we are. But the one thing they always say is you can't repair low-spec material, because there's not enough material to repair to. You need something solid. And so if you have a catastrophic fail, say your rail tape goes or something on a low quality board, they all say the same thing. And that's third parties, that's not us, coming up with MSL. There's just not the material to be able to create a solid bond to be able to then repair that
or
board.
If there is, the repairs, this is the problem. Like, what if the repair's more expensive than buying a new board? This is consumerism, isn't it? It's just getting out of hand, and I think that's something that we want to avoid write-offs. And
this whole video, I've realised, this section, we're talking about construction material, but it's more about what goes behind the scenes of your whole red board.
Yeah, when people say why red, we had to sit them down and talk. The best is at an event. Someone comes over at an event and says, "Okay, why should I buy a board?" You're like, well, "How long have you got?" Because anyone in the company can sit them down pretty best part of most of a week, I reckon. And you could go through every part of actually what it takes to make a board or one of our products. And there's just so much involvement from the team here. And that's why, the people who do our events are the design team, are the operations team, are the marketing team, because they all have the same level of knowledge, because you can't work in those areas without having had those discussions and really knowing the products.
Yeah, there's so much to it, isn't there, as a paddleboard brand? You've got your customer service, board shapes, innovation, going to the next thing, materials, manufacturers, and having a good relationship with them. It's quite a, from my point of view, and also from the readers watching, it's pretty eye-opening how vast that subject is that we can't see as a consumer. Really, we can't.
Just the tip of the boards are just the tip of the
We're just talking
iceberg.
about, okay, let's talk about construction. Okay, that's that. But actually, And what we've been chatting about today is like 95% of it is the other stuff around it, which all takes a huge amount of time and money and to get boards going forward. And I looking forward to seeing, you know, this new sport range is really, how can I say, it's reinvigorated the fire. I see an amazing board there. It's lighter, it's stiffer. It's got some real, as a paddler, just some stuff that I get excited about. But then, so that's great. And now I come in here, I can see that there's actually a hell of a lot more than just that.
Yes, exactly.
But I am looking forward to seeing more stuff coming from environmental.
That's totally it. Because from a paddling point of view, so we've talked about how boards are made, and no matter how the board's made, people are getting on the water and getting into paddleboarding, which is number one, hands down, the best thing in terms of both as a sport, but also each of those individuals are connecting with nature. So we're learning about how to look after the ocean, how to get out into nature, whether that be mental health, physical health, just well-being, social interaction, whatever it might be. There's positive benefits that come with paddleboarding. So getting all those people in. From a product point of view, if you don't give two figs about any of the stuff we just talked about, because that's on us, that's for us to do, 100%. You know, just if you took us out of Red, Phil and I, or the whole team out of Red, and we tried to set us up somewhere else, it's our values that is driving that. It's, you know, it's not some like top-down thing. So the idea that now all these people are in the sport, from a product point of view, and as you say, we want to take people on that journey. You know, I love paddling, but I love it in different formats. You know, some days I'll be out with my little kids, out on the board, messing about, and I need a very different board to potentially what I did yesterday, where I was paddling 20 kilometres on my own into some wind and waves. And there's different areas of this sport which turn it into actually a sport, and you can progress, you can improve. Paddling is one of the oldest techniques out there. You know, it was Hawaiian paddlers back in the day, way before paddlers, you know, fishermen getting from A to B on islands. There's so much you can learn and improve on, and then the benefits just get more. You know, the more longer you're outside, the more the benefits come in. So that's what we're passionate from a product point of view is, just that progression pathway, I guess, is what we call it internally. It's a progression pathway. You may have started down here on an all-round, whether that's at one of our boards or not. But as soon as you start to think, oh, hang on, there may be another side to this, what I'm doing. You know, I want to go a bit further. I want to be able to put some power down. I want to be able to do a bit of fitness or speed, or maybe enter a race, or do some paddleboard surfing, or go off for a multi-day trip, or just paddle along with friends, or do a club. There's so many different aspects that people can get involved in now in the sport, which is it's such a new sport, really. The maturity of it, you know, that infrastructure is now being built, and we want a product line that supports people on that journey. So no matter where you are, you can always have that step up in terms of your own performance, and there's a board and there's kit there to be able to support that journey and that adventure. So yeah, that's, like you say, all that sort of the rest of the iceberg down here is on us, and that's what we want to do. The new products, the exciting, you know, the bit that we can all get our hands on and interact with. That's what we're so focused on from a paddler perspective. Getting people back into that real energy of, wow, this is a mode of transport. You know, this is a vehicle for me to access places where most people can't get to, and give me a different perspective. Whereas, you know, if you're just paddling just off the beach, cool, you know, total kudos. You're out on the water, you're having a great time. But there is more than just doing that, and that's what paddleboarding does really allow, I think.
If one of your mates was going to buy a paddleboard,
and
obviously he knows you're tied into Red Paddle Co, you're the main man, both of you. Why?
He tries.
What stops them going down? What's your argument to stop them going down to buy a supermarket board over yours?
Depends what they can afford.
Well, that's a pretty good.
I would say Red, but then you'd say, well, you would say that, wouldn't you?
My genuine answer to this, and I have friends who regularly, you know, every you and one other. No, every summer, every start of every season, people come out of the woodwork, you know, old school mates. People come up and go, look, George, I know you're in paddleboarding world. I'm looking at a board. What do you recommend? You know, and maybe they give me a budget or not. In all honesty, I can only point out the potential pitfalls. Is because they're handmade products. It's such a gamble. So I always try to point out the pitfalls, and then so therefore, no matter what your budget is, whether that be £200 or £2,000. Actually, it's trying to work out, okay, what might happen. Because if you know what might happen and it happens, fine. Because what we're saying is ultimately it leads to potential failure and it leads to potential landfill. Yeah. Actually, both of those things, one's very bad for the planet, one is potentially life-threatening.
Bad for you, yeah, exactly.
So they're the things that people need to take into knowledge. If I can let friends know that if failure equals one of those two things, then they can prepare at least for the human element of that, in the fact that they can go in with their eyes open of going, I need a PFD, I need to make sure that I have some form of self-reliance in this situation, whether that be the right leash, whether that be the right safety gear, or whatever it might be. And with the eyes wide open of, okay, there is a potential planetary impact on it. This is genuinely what I say to people. And they go, I don't know, only ask, mate. But that's kind of where I have to go, because there aren't many people, there aren't many companies and brands in any sector and this is where what really opens my eyes. You know, when you look at buying new running trainers, or when you look at buying a bike or whatever it may, there's not, or new coats even, ski gear, all that stuff. There's not many brands, companies that are at raw material stage all the way through in a lot of industry. A lot of them are at supplier innovation stage up. So really what you're trying to do is find those people, of which Red is in the paddleboard space, that have that level of knowledge, because that's where, again, you can QC versus what you know. What they then make the decision on is obviously, due to human factors, you know, budget, plan on use, that sort of thing, So it's very difficult to give them a very clean answer, I think, and just go, don't do that because of X, Y, and Z. Because ultimately, you know, if you've got someone who actually is a skilled worker and all the factors line up, you might end up with something, all right, you know, that lasts a while. It's just that gamble, I guess. It's how much of a gamble you want to take. Yeah. And the other element of it as well is you can't shortcut the stuff we've been talking about in terms of costs. Yeah. We haven't talked much about price point. And actually, as we said earlier in the day, pricing now is starting to be seen in terms of products. You know, I would argue that from a Red point of view, we're with board-only options because of the B Corp message. You know, we've stripped it from bag and pump and things. We're now the most accessible we've ever been in terms of for people to be able to get onto a quality board that has longevity, durability to it. But you can't shortcut it. You can't get the best materials, the best workmanship, the best skills, don't pay piece rates, check on, get the best blues, the chemists, and then go, oh, by the way, it's, you know, X price. Yeah. So the real truth in the industry is, to a certain point, reflected in price. Obviously, people can artificially inflate their prices and have the same low quality they ride on their brand. That's a big concern when that starts to happen. And I think it's easy for people to transfer from, you know, heritage across into other sectors. But we're seeing that less and less. You know, in the early days of paddleboarding, that happened quite a lot, but we're seeing that less. So yeah, there's no shortcut to quality. You can't buy quality materials at half the price. You know?
Can't do it.
Yeah, and to a point where if we tried to create a lower quality product, our suppliers would kick back. You know, they would actually probably walk away from us, because everything we've done is to instill values and or shared values. So if we tried to go and go, hey, guys, right, make it like this, don't worry about that, that'd be the end of the relationship. You know, that would be trust gone.
12 years or so you've been working up the other way and something.
Yeah. And you can't do it, you know, from that aspect. We've costed it up. Yeah, it's a different world. So Phil talked about stuff that we haven't brought to market. So I'm just going to jump up on our board loft and just show you some of the stuff that we've done in terms of innovation, in terms of progression, but has never seen the light of day.
Oh, come on then. Storeroom, where you put...
Yeah, so this is where all of our samples go, just in terms of, safekeeping, hidden away. No one sees this. Top secret. Right, what have we got up here? So, I mean, in terms of, it's just so much to start with. But I guess one of the big things is double chamber. So in terms of moving on with double chamber. So in the early days of double chamber, just when we were looking at the safety element of it, we actually had this thing made here, which is all literally multiple chambers to understand cavities, how you can create storage units, how you can create double chamber in terms of welding and finishing and fabrication, gluing, that sort of thing. It's it kind of got us to the point of thinking double chamber, double danger, in the fact that actually it was just more holes in an inflatable vessel, the more potential failure points. So that's why we moved it. So that's I don't know, 2014,
Double
2015.
double chamber, double danger.
Double chamber, double danger. Yeah, absolutely. Then where did we go? So also copying point of view. So because we get there's a lot of chat, I guess, in production and on the other side of the world. We've actually started to make some of our samples in random colours, because what often happens is people will just take a photo of something they've seen and send it on in terms of production. So we make them bright colours, because then people don't get what they want ultimately. So if they get direct copies, they get a random looking board. So we had to start colouring our early samples to make sure that they get copied. What else we got? These have been inflated for years, some of them. So this is 810 compact development. So this was using the V-hull technology on the Voyages, putting it in the tail to create a sort of more rail-to-rail experience with a release edge all the way down it. I mean, yeah, great fun, but never saw the light of day, just from it added weight, but also in terms of the SUP experience, you're much more flaring on the tail. So actually being able to develop that rail-to-rail experience, this was trying to step in that direction. But something that we'll continue to innovate on, something to move on. But yeah, there's still more work to be done in that space. What else have we got? We've got stringer development here on this board. So this is actually a triple layer, triple fold compact to try and reduce the size. We've got paddles. So let's still go up here. Isn't it? We've got this is a fully biodegradable blade. So this is, fully eco blade. Unfortunately, it's just not quite viable yet, but it's something that we continue to work on. It says, boards are only one part of the eco story. So we have that. We have various blade shapes here going on, new clamp designs. Just seen this. This is one of our 2012 artwork paddles. Again, trying to put more specific designs on it, but yeah, from a durability standpoint, we want stuff that will last. So yeah, that's there. What else have we got? No. Who's that? Cut it. Bag development galore. So loads of bag development up here. Stringer technology on race boards. So trying to get that ultimate stiffness in terms of acceleration. Full length V-hull here. So full length V-hull down the board. Again, a lot of testing that went in. Come on, down this way. A lot of testing went in terms of speed, acceleration, stability, ultimately confidence on the water as well. But that was actually a tapered full length V-hull there. I mean, I'm giving away some trade secrets here, so sorry, Phil. This is super light, so don't know what this is, but this is very early in the material construction. Compacts can be made super light, like ridiculously light, but light equals less material equals less stiffness, less durability. So this, I think if I held it up to light, you could probably actually even see through it, and you get a sort of like colour change on the material. So yeah, whilst it packs down small, it's not quite what we want in terms of performance. Totally different coating process on this board. We've got a light windsurf board over there. Yeah, all sorts.
When did you start making Christmas trees?
Christmas trees. That's for that's for Christmas parties only. We do have the ultimate team member development going on here. So it's
enough innovation in the roof too.
Like I say, lots of stuff that never comes to the light of day, but we're always moving on, always developing. You may still see this, and actually down the end there, we've got boards from over 10 years ago, which are still inflated and still working right over the boxes there, with hard tails on. Hard components on, hard tails, hard noses, different rocker curves. Again, we're continually progressing it, and some of these ideas still may come to light, but we just moving on, progressing it, testing it, that sort of thing. So
cargo part.
That's what?
That's the back of the cargo protection that I did.
What was that?
So we needed to make sure that all of our bags get on the cargo point, so we need to make sure that they're all.
Oh, that's your template mock-up.
But on this side,
It's me. It's a shot at me early doors.
pretty boy over here.
Where?
Yeah. That's me doing the. There I am. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. What is this?
There.
This
Yeah,
guy.
it's me. There I am. Turning
Hey.
the board up. Yeah.
You look exactly the same. Pumped.
Yeah. I haven't aged a bit. Oh. But
No,
yeah,
I used to have a, yeah.
these are gorgeous. So this is super wide RSS pattern testing. This is, I don't know what this is. It's like a
This was my sample from
Ran-
FFC.
FSC. I was going to say it's got a hell of a nose shape on that, isn't it?
Yeah, this was the.
How long have these been pumped up?
Oh,
Since
well,
this
this
building's been here.
yeah, well, it's 20. I mean, it's,
Wow, look at that tail.
yeah, it's a hardtail, but yeah, I mean, both performance, but also again durability when a soft surface meets a hard surface. So like
Yeah.
you know, that sort of thing. There's so much more to consider in terms of durability, especially when you're putting pressure into the product. So yeah, I mean, these are all 2042.
It's definitely not a 9.2 Surf Star.
No, I feel like that's the wrong logo on there.
And it's got a 12.6. Oh, it's a bit confused, that board.
Doesn't know what it is.
So there we have it. I hope you found these two videos very interesting. If you haven't checked out part 1, please go and check that part out. Without a doubt, Phil, George and the rest of the team have a huge amount of passion and knowledge, and they really are focusing on trying to make the best paddleboards out there. If you've got any questions and comments about these videos, please get them in the comments section below. My name's Reuben, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on another SUPboarder video soon.